Hey everybody, it's Mike Sullivan with Born to Shine. Today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Brooke Olsen-Farrell. She's the superintendent over at Slate Valley Unified School District in Castleton, Vermont. Castleton Fair. Can I get your help with that?
Castleton, Fairhaven, Vermont. Yes.
Okay, that's it. That's good. Well, thank you for being with us, Brooke. Thanks for carving out some time, and would love to hear what your journey was like becoming the superintendent.
Yeah. I grew up in this area. I've lived in this area for 25 years. Right over the border in New York State. We're right on the border between Vermont and New York. And ever since I was a little girl, I know it might sound odd, but I always wanted to be a superintendent of schools. My grandmother was on the local school board and used to bring me along to school board meetings as a child. And so it's something I just always wanted to do. So I was fortunate in that regard. So I graduated from Granville High School in New York State and went back and was a science teacher there for 12 years for middle and high school. And then from there, I came over to Vermont, to Fairhaven as the director of curriculum, and then a short stint as the assistant superintendent over in the Mill River School District, and then back here as the superintendent for the past, this is my 7th year as superintendent here. So
Oh, that's awesome. And it's so cool, Brooke, is I know we were talking earlier before the podcast and I was sharing that a lot of superintendents have somewhat of a similar path, and every once in a while there's something different, and yours is definitely different. I've never heard that's awesome. Something you would go with your mom to the board meetings. That's really unique. That's very cool.
yeah.
Did that kind of got you the I guess the I don't even know what you'd call it. It just created the desire for that. You saw that world and thought I like this. I'm drawn to this.
Uh,
I fit in
Well,
with this.
Well, it was actually it was my grandmother, and I spent a lot of time with my grandmother growing up, and she was a very strong, powerful woman, and I really, have looked up to her my entire life, and
Mm.
just really, she brought me along to everything, and it was, I just thought, hey, I can do that, and I want to do that, and as a young child too, not even a young child, probably up through middle school, I had a school room set up in my basement where all the neighborhood kids would get off the bus and, I would try to tutor them in various subjects. So it's just something I always knew I wanted to do. There was never really a question for me about doing anything else with my life. So
That's amazing. That is so cool. That's really neat. And that your grandma exposed you to that. And then you already started kind of becoming a teacher slash director of curriculum in your basement as a little kid with your friends.
yeah.
And then when you were K-12, what were there any challenges that you struggled with internally? Because kids are really struggling. I mean, all the data shows. And um, was there anything when you were a kid that you struggled with?
Yeah, middle school, I would say like ninth grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, were really hard for me. I was bullied quite a bit
Mm,
for I don't know whatever reason, especially by other girls who I thought
mm,
were my
mm,
friends at the time. And so what that resulted in is, and it usually would happen during a lunch period. So I stopped going to lunch. Up through high school, I decided I was going to take extra classes. I wasn't going to go to lunch, spend extra time with teachers. And so I ended up actually leaving high school a year early and going to college a year early, just really because I wasn't super comfortable
mm,
with the environment. And I think that led to some insecurities, and something that I've had to deal with and be aware of and overcome throughout the rest of my life. But it is something that you can overcome. Yeah, and so high school wasn't necessarily the best, time for me, and probably someone who knew me back then wouldn't have necessarily known that. This is probably actually the first time I really have spoken about that. Um,
Mm. Well,
and
first, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so I think, that played out in me going to college and, really just trying to get through college and didn't have a lot of close relationships in college. Since then that has changed a lot for me, but just didn't really want to make myself vulnerable or open to that kind of I think behaviors by others. So
Yeah. No, I thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry that you went through that. And I'm sorry you felt that and struggled with that. It's very similar. You and I have very similar stories. That's same with me. I was bullied uh, to the point of, yeah, not having many close friends and not trying to avoid situations like the cafeteria to just not get picked on and bullied. So, and it took years. It took so long to overcome it. So I first, I'm sorry you went through that, and second, thank you for sharing that because I think it's showing anyone that's listening, if you're a student out there, or if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, whoever you are, a grandparent, maybe you still have some past pain, and it's okay. You're not alone, and just through all, I mean, all kinds of things. But first is at least what helped me the most. I'm curious for you. It was forgiveness, learning truly to just forgive, and it was so hard. They teach it and the Bible in a church, and it was like, forgive. How do I forgive someone that's hurt me so bad? And but over that, just truly forgiving them, it just had all that hurt started to kind of evaporate over time. It wasn't like a light bulb, but um, so if you're out there and you're struggling, you will get through it, and you're not alone. So, but and then I guess the last is in your school district. What are you noticing that's helping with kids? Because bullying is everywhere, and it's unfortunate that it happens, but it still does, and that can cause things like our self esteem to diminish, or our self confidence. I know it did for me. And then what are things in place, in addition to school psychologists or counselors that you've noticed, wow, this is really helping our kiddos with their mental wellness, or are you noticing, woo, here's some gaps that we need to bridge?
yeah, so I think both of those things, right? Like we've worked really hard over the last several years to really make sure that each child has at least one trusted adult in the school that they can go to when they're struggling. And so really worked hard on those relationships, really have worked hard on community engagement and making sure kids have a connection to the larger community and to one another. And making sure that the school isn't seen as an island, but it's rather a microcosm of the community. And so how we can all work together to support our youth. We've put in place some robust after school programming right now, K through 6, that we didn't have previously,
Mm,
because we know a lot of these bullying or these types of behaviors, while there might be some that occur during the school day, they're also occurring after school in that third space, so to speak. And so making sure that students have connections then as well. So we've really tried to expand our programming. We've been trying to partner with community resources, although those community resources are really lacking at times. So that is
mhm.
something that we need more of, to really help bolster what we're doing in the school. We're putting in we're doing potluck dinners at the middle school, high school, just to bring the community together to talk about issues. whether it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, or just essentially belonging. We want all of our students to feel like they belong, right? That's really what we
Hmm.
want. So those are some of the things we're doing, and um, yeah, just trying to find those community partnerships because the school can't operate independently to solve some of these huge societal issues.
Right. See, and that's why you're the superintendent right there. That's what all the best leaders know, that we can't do it all on our own. And no entity, no company, no individual. We need a team. We need other people and other companies to partner with and organizations to support each other. So that I love that you said that. And I'm sure if you're a superintendent watching this, you're going, yep, yeah, we do the same thing. So, and if you're that kiddo or principal or anyone, if you're struggling, I felt like I dropped the ball earlier about getting through it. We really become ourselves by the way we talk to ourselves, right? There's a million books on it. So if you're struggling like I did for many, many, many years, and sometimes still do every once in a while, if we're thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not handsome enough, I'm not in the popular enough group, instead of us focusing on all of those painful thoughts, what helped me was saying just the opposite, right? It's like a 360. You're driving your car or your bike and you just literally you turn around and you go the opposite direction, right? So it's just replacement thoughts like, you know what, I'm beautiful just the way God made me, or you know what, I'm getting smarter every day. If you're terrible at math like me, I was you can't be worse than me. I was the worst at math. But if someone's struggling, and it's just saying, instead of I'm never going to be good at math, replace it with, you know, I'm getting a little better every day, or with a sport. I'm terrible at swimming or whatever it is, skiing out in Vermont, or soccer. You know, I'm getting a little better every day. See, that little subtle shift makes a huge difference. And then over time, that muscle gets stronger. So if you are struggling like I have with being bullied, and then you start to say the things that the bullies say to yourself, and then that light that we all have starts to dim, you can reignite that light just by changing the way we talk to ourselves. So anyway, sorry, that was a little thing I felt like I needed to share because I totally dropped it earlier.
Yeah, it's about taking back the control, and
Hmm.
no one can make you feel a certain way. So
Right. And then the way we talk to ourselves truly is how we become ourselves. So if we're saying good things, we start to feel good. If we say really bad things, we start to feel bad. Is there anything you'd want to share with another soup, or maybe parents or students or staff, like whatever's on your heart?
I think for me, it's just thinking about in general, in society as a whole, how we treat one another,
Mhm.
and to treat one another with kindness, right? And that no one knows the struggle that each other are going through. And so I think there's a lot of absence of kindness in the world right now. And so I just think perhaps it's good to remind people to be kind.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. I love it. Brooke, thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you for sharing everything you did.
Of course. Thank you.